have a question for you with meditation. A lot of people we can hear online say that if you do meditation, you'll get all these amazing benefits. You'll feel really good. Your body will be really calm. But why is it then, if we're going to get all these amazing benefits, why is it that so many people either start and then stop, or talk about that they're going to do it and then don't do it at all, or find it so difficult to meditate? Well, what I'm going to do in this video is go through a list of benefits that you can get from doing meditation, and you really can. But also, there's something behind these benefits that is actually its polar opposite. You see, the way the mind works, it's not as linear as we just take an action, we get all these benefits from meditation. With every benefit that you can get from meditation, there's also a polar opposite anxiety that you may experience when you're going through meditation, which is what I'm going to cover in this video. Because for myself, I'm a trauma therapist, and meditation can actually be phenomenal, but we have to be aware of all the potential challenges that may come up that stop us getting long-term results. So let's take it to the screen and look at the benefits that you can gain, but also the anxieties that may come with those benefits. Okay, so in this slide, I'm going to go through 6 benefits that you can get from doing meditation, but also the risks associated or what might arise of potential anxiety when you get each one of these benefits, which can cause this push-pull feeling when you're going through meditation. It's not like a lot of people say you just sit in lotus position and feel really good. There's actually another side that you have to be aware of if you're going to do meditation long term. So firstly, it can help balance your mood and emotions. That's true, it can. By releasing physical stress hormones through the body when you're doing meditation, it can help regulate and feel emotions. Now that sounds really great, and it can be if you're prepared for feeling the emotions. However, there are millions of people all over the world who've been in a stressed state for so long that they've actually gone into a freeze state. It could be trauma from the past being projected onto today. It could be that they've got so many thoughts flooding through their mind that they just become overwhelmed. And to feel those emotions might feel like opening up a tap full blast, and it just feels too much. So when you relax down, it actually can sometimes for people feel overwhelming. Number 2, it can focus your attention. When you calm your mind down, it can definitely focus your attention on what you want. So with less or no anxiety, now in my terminology, anxiety is a painful pre-projection of a future event. So with less or no anxiety in that moment when you're meditating, it gives you space to focus on what you want. Now that, again, is a wonderful benefit that you can get. However, what if the mind's got low self-esteem, low self-worth, or overwhelming anxiety when you come back around again? And to give you an example, I'm working through with a guy at the moment, and his focus is he wants to be in a romantic relationship. Beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing to want that. However, he's got a terrifying trauma of rejection. So when he calms his mind down and goes into focusing on what he really wants, he can visualize that relationship in the future. He can imagine being in that wonderful space. And then what might come up as a result of that is, well, what if I get into that relationship and I get rejected? And then his trauma overwhelms his future focus of goal, and then he gets this push-pull, and his mind says, stop meditating. It becomes too much pain because you're getting all this anxiety when you come back out of meditation. The content or information in these videos is for educational and informational purposes only. Number 3, clarity of challenging situations. This is a huge one. When your mind goes calm, it opens up that creative part, and you start to see things clearer, as in less anxiety or less clutter in your mind. Difficult situations that you will be facing in your life right now, or may be facing in your life, will have more thought power to use for resolution. So you could be going through a difficult time right now. You calm your mind down and you start to see all these opportunities that you could take. Now that can happen, but on the other side of that. Now, to give you an example, this is something I experienced when I was in my early 20s and I started to calm down and I started to see all these potential opportunities that I could move forward to in life. Sounds great, except I had no skills, I had no capabilities, and I felt totally overwhelmed in life in every single way. So, although I had this challenging situation where my life was in a wreck and ruin, I started opening up and thinking, well, I could do that and that and that. And all of a sudden, all of these thoughts started flooding in my head. And I thought, I don't know where to start. I've got so much to do and I don't know what to do. So, actually, calming down, if you're not preparing for these things when they might come out, it can just get overwhelming and start to shut you down. And then your mind might think, well, I don't even like meditating. I don't want to do meditation anymore because when I do, it brings up all of these things that I need to do over this ever growing list. And I don't feel prepared to be able to do all that. So I'll just go and avoid it. Okay, number 4, increased creativity. When you calm your mind down, it will open up and start to incorporate other parts of your mind and become more creative and say, well, I could do that, and I could do that, and I could do that, which again can happen for many people when they go through meditation. However, what it does again is open up those parts of your mind and start to see the bigger picture of things that you could move towards. But again, think about that guy that I just mentioned. He wants to get into a romantic relationship, but he's got a trauma that he's going to get rejected. So when he thinks about, well, I could do that and that and that, again, looking at what we've looked at so far, it might feel, well, if I try that, it's going to go wrong because I've got this trauma of rejection, but also there are so many things that I need to do that is just overwhelming and I don't know what to do. And again, shut down. So this is why it's really important to think about these things as soon as you come out of meditation, to write these things down, but notice how you feel because it depends on what state of mind you've been in for many, many years. Because when I very first started meditating, the gurus were all saying, just meditate, you'll feel really great. But actually, meditation for me started to feel really overwhelming. And I got scared and didn't know what to do. And it felt the more I meditated, the more I had to deal with it. So if you do choose to meditate, just start slow, write things down, and don't push yourself too far. So number 5, it can boost your physical health and vitality. So many people in this world are in a state of stress that they are physically burning out, and then they may turn to, say, junk food to satiate the body, to help them calm down, or say chocolate. I got addicted to sugar when I was younger, sugar and caffeine, and I was on burnout all the time, even though I was exercising 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I could cope with it, but I was still in a state of burnout. Well, here it can reduce the stress hormones when you relax your body down and the mind comes out of fight or flight. So that fight or flight could be anxiety projections all around your life right now. So you could be at work and having lots of anxiety triggers. You could be in a romantic relationship having anxiety triggers, and not necessarily about today, but these could be past traumas projecting onto today, distorting your reality. So it could be that you're in your life right now and it just starts feeling really overwhelming. But when your mind starts to come out of fight or flight, again, back up to when we can feel our emotions. We might have been in such a shut down state for so long that actually starting to feel these emotions as we come out of fight and flight can actually, although it sounds really great, and it can actually feel really overwhelming. Okay, and the number 6 is it can create awareness, which again is going to be an amalgamation of the other areas that we've covered on this page. So your mind will become aware of opportunities as it relaxes. It's almost like if you imagine putting your hands together. When you're in a really stressed state, your hands are tightly closed together, and that means that your mind is not open. But then as you start to relax, your hands come apart, and that's like your mind opening and seeing lots of different opportunities. The one thing to add in here as an example of what I experienced when it comes down to creative awareness is that I was in a not good place when I was younger. And I mean, everything in my life was falling all around. And when I started meditating, my mind opened up and it thought, well, you could get into a relationship, you could go traveling, you could go and do the career that you've always wanted to do. And then I had those ideas, I had those inspirations. But then when I actually came around, I thought, but I'm so far away from that. And I actually felt really depressing. So it's kind of like this duality that you can get when you're doing meditation. Parts of your mind can open up and see all these amazing opportunities all around you. But also, what comes with that is it's like, imagine being in a dark room and you've had the curtains closed for so long. Now, what you would want to do, so your eyes don't get blinded by light, is you'd open the curtains a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, so you can adjust the light. But if you've ever been in that situation where you're asleep in bed, and then somebody walks into your bedroom and opens the curtains full, and it's a really sunny day outside, and it blinds your eyes because there's too much light all at once. And in a way, that could be a metaphor of what can happen with meditation. So, although it sounds really great when you can hear people online and they say, just meditate, you'll feel really good, you'll get all these amazing benefits, you should do it every day, and you find yourself maybe starting to do meditation and then don't follow along with it, or you do meditation and you just find it so difficult to do. It's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with you. It could have been that you've been told that you're going to only get all these amazing benefits. But really, as we've discussed in this video, what can happen is a duality. Yes, you can get all these amazing benefits, but your mind is a very complex organism. So as you start to get these benefits, there's going to be duality come through as well. And then if what I call your protector self in your mind starts to say, well, hang on, if you start to move towards that, like the guy with the relationship, once in a relationship, a beautiful, wonderful relationship with your significant other and your best friend is a wonderful gift. But his deeper trauma of what he's experienced many stages of his life is rejection after rejection after rejection. And his protector self has said, well, hang on, every time you've got into a relationship before, you've got rejected and it's all this pain. So actually avoid relationships and you'll stay nice and safe. So as you can see there, again, there's these two parts of your mind that are fighting, and it's not enough just to say, well, that was in the past and I disagree with that and I'm only going to think positive thoughts now. If you've got a trauma deep inside your mind in, say, what I call Pandora's box, your subconscious mind, it's not just enough to say, well, I'll ignore that and think really positive and think about the future like all these gurus tell you. It requires that you go within and reflect on that and feel into that and then let that go through resolution. But the one thing is that takes time, and you have to know the specific process of what to go through in order to get that result. So as I'm sure you're gathering now, there are a lot of different angles and offshoots of what can happen when you start to meditate. Yes, you can get lots of benefits, but also with every benefit that comes out, if you've got any trauma underneath, that can express itself as well. As your protector self might say, well, hang on, you're going to get all these benefits, but what about all these risks as well? And that is one of the main reasons that I found when people start to meditate, why they actually stop or they feel overwhelmed when they're meditating, because it isn't just a simple case that we meditate, feel really good. We have to be aware of the deeper part of our mind as well. So as a suggestion, should you want to do this, if you go through your meditation process and you're finding resistance and you're finding it confusing, or you're finding yourself getting really overwhelmed when you're doing your meditation, from my opinion, it's just as a deeper part of your mind trying to warn you away from either a past trauma or an anxiety projection into today. And this is where your journal can be your best friend. So any resistance you get, write it down, reflect on it, ask why that might have come through. And remember, it is not just enough to do like the gurus say of ask yourself, is it real today? And then if it's not real today, then just simply forget about it and only focus on positive things. But I make a lot more videos around that area, so if you want to have a look through any other videos on my channel, feel free. So I'll just bring it to a close there. One thing I'd suggest is any thoughts, ideas, questions that came up for you, write them down in your journal, reflect on them, and reflect on when you've done your meditation in the past. But also any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments below, because as I always say in every video, you never know. Your comment could change somebody else's life for the better forever.